Welcome back everyone to Blender and Unreal Engine becoming a dungeon prop artist, and this is where we left off. Now then, let's hide these out of the way because we're not going to need them at the moment. Let's clean this up a little bit so we can actually see what we're doing. I'm going to move my materials up to the top so that I know where it is every time. I'm not going to keep searching through it, so let's just click that off. And then what I want to do is I'm going to actually start now on our barrels and crates. So we can see here we've got barrels and crates. And we should have a different color depending on which kind of edges they are and things like that. You can see here that I can improve these slightly by bringing these out, for instance. But I think the first one we'll start on is the actual barrel. So just bring in your reference guide so you've actually got it. All right, so now this is kind of the bread and butter of every kind of modeler creating barrels. We've all probably had to go at this. So I'm going to show you the best way that I found to create barrels. So let's start from there. So first of all, I'm going to bring in a cylinder. So I'm going to press Shift A. Make sure your cursor's in the center. So Shift A, mesh, bring in a cylinder. And I'm going to leave this on 16. I think that's going to be absolutely perfect for what I need. I think I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to press 1. I'm going to press S and Z and bring it out a little bit. So something like that. You can see it's way too big, but I'm not going to worry about the actual width of it at the moment. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, like so. And then I'm just looking at the top now. Am I happy with the top? I don't think so. I think it's still too small at the top. You can see here, that would be a little bit dinky. So now we can bring it out. And I think that's more or less the right size. And now I can just press S and Z and squish it down now to the size I want it. Something like that looks about the right size. All right, so now what I need to do is just bring out the center of it. So I tend to just add in 3 edge loops. So Control R, 1, 2, 3, left click, right click. And then I bring my proportional editing in, grab this center one, pressing 1, and then all I want to do is pull it out to where I want it. So you can see now I'm bringing it out to the size of the barrel that I want. Something like that looks pretty nice, as you can see. All right, so just make sure it's still sat on the ground plane. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top of it, so this part here, I'm going to separate it away from the other part. So I'm going to press Y and then just hide that out of the way. The bottom part of it, I'm actually just going to delete because I've got a top part, so I don't need a bottom part as well. So delete faces. All right, so now last of all, I just want to mark some seams in here. And what I tend to do, because I've got it on 16, I know that I can mark one every second one. So Alt-Shift-Click, just going all the way around like so. And we're just going to mark a seam in here like so. So right-click, mark seam. All right, so now what I tend to do is I tend to make a copy of this. So I'll grab it all, I'll press Shift D, Enter, and then what I'll do is I'll hide one out of the way. So hide one of them out of the way, and now I'll come in to the second one and press Alt-Shift-Click on each of these edge loops I've created. I'll press Control B, pull it out, and these basically are going to be those kind of bars that go around your actual crate. Now I've done that, all I want to do is I just want to press Y, and separate those out of the way, and then I'm just going to hide those out of the way. Now I'm going to come into the other bits that I've got here. I really don't need these anymore, so I'm just going to press Delete, Vertices, and now press Alt-H, and you should be left with something like this. Now, I tend to separate all these off, and it just makes it easier to actually work with. So I'll come to this part, P, Selection, come to these bars here. So instead of, I'll try and grab all of these, so I'm just going to come around the center here like so. I'm going to separate these off as well like so. P, Selection, Tab, and now you can see that we've got all of these parts if I can actually click on them. So P, just going to hide that. Yeah, there they are. All right, so let's make these bars first because then we'll actually be able to see what we're actually doing. So first of all, we'll press Control A or Transforms, right click to Origins Geometry, right click Shade Smooth, bring in Auto Smooth, and now we're going to add in a Solidify modifier. And of course, it has to go outwards. So let's add in Solidify. Now it's going inwards, even thickness on, bring it outwards, hold in the Shift button like so, press Alt-H, and now you'll be able to see your actual barrel and how that's actually going to fit around there. So now you can decide how thick you actually want these rings. Now, because this is a little bit stylized, we probably want them a little bit thicker than normal because we are going to bevel off these edges as well. So something like that I think should be absolutely fine. All right, so now let's hide this part out of the way and we'll come to these parts. Now, why did I actually bevel off all these? Now, why did I mark the seam on all these? Because now I can actually split them off. So if I come in and I go to each other one, like so. You can see now if I press Y, so Y, and then G, without proportionality on, now they're all split off. And now what that enables me to do is I can press A, Control A, all transforms, right clicks, origin to geometry. I can shade them smooth. I can also then put the auto smooth on. And now you can see we're left with something like this. And now I can come in and bring in my modifier and bring in a solidifier. Now you could bring in your solidify and then split them off, but what I tend to do is I tend to bring in the solidify after, just because I find it a little bit easier. The other thing is, before you actually do that, the easiest way to do this is what I should have done is I should have gone round and actually marked my seams on my tops and bottoms, because it will make it much easier for you in the long run, as you will see. So I'm just going to quickly go round, fix my mistake, because I should have done this before splitting them off, like so. And then you're going to right click, mark seam. All right, so now what you want to do is I'm going to put this on object mode so I can see what I'm actually doing. And now I'm going to put it on even thickness and bring these inwards this time. Now you can see that we do have a slight problem here, in that these are going to be overlapping. But don't worry, one of the reasons why we mark those seams is so that we can actually fix that in the long run. As I say, this is the quickest way I've found of making barrels, and I think they also look really nice. So let's actually apply that once you've got the right thickness of your wood. I think this looks good, so I can just go over, apply that now, and now if you press tab, you can see you end up with something like this. Now what you can do is you can come in and you can grab each one of these, like so. You can see how easy it is to grab now because we actually marked those seams off. You can then go on to individual origins, and you can then also put this on normal. And now what you'll find is if I press S and X, I can pull all of these in just a tad on the inside like that. And that makes it really easy to do this. And now what we need to do is just do the inside as well. So I'm going to go L, 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 L. And how this works is because it's basing it on normals, which means it's basing it on each one of these individual parts, where the normals are based on where it is in space in Blender. So it's trying to bring it in on the X of each one of these, whichever way they're facing. And also, because we've not got a medium point, it's not pulling it into the middle, it's pulling it based on each one of these. So that's why it works. So now if I press S and X, you can see I can bring these in as well, like so. And there you go. That is the easiest way I found to create a barrel. Now, the next thing you want to do before finishing this is you want to actually start pulling the tops of these out, and then you want to give it a bevel. And the reason you want to do that is because then you're going to have a good idea of how much gaps between each of these, and you might want to pull them out a little bit. So let's actually do that now. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to change this back to global. I'm going to come back then to each one of these, and I'm just going to randomize them a little bit. So if I press R and X, for instance, I can just move them a little bit like so. And I'm basically just making them a bit uneven because there's no way these barrels would be even. Now, the thing is with the bottom of the barrels, they would be pretty much flat on the floor. And the reason for that is because of the fact that they're going to be scraping along the floor, and barrels normally go the same way up, whichever way, you're putting them. They've always have a top where they've got a hole where the actual, beer or whatever comes out of it. So the bottoms of them would be relatively flat. Now, you can see one problem we do have with these is they're not actually flat on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press Alt, Shift and click and just grab them going round all of the bottom of here just to finish this bottom off. Now if I press 1, press Z, going to wireframe, you can see just how far they are off. So all you need to do then is just pull them down, press Z, solid, and now you'll see they're perfectly flat, and that looks really nice. Now, as I say, let's come in and bevel it. So I'm going to press Ctrl A, all transforms, right click, set origins, geometry, and then what I'm going to do is come over, bevel, turn that bevel down, turn it up 1, and let's see what that looks like. Still too high, as you can see, so let's try 0.003, and there we go. There is your barrels done. Now, the one thing I do want to do before finishing is I want to bring these together in the middle, because you certainly don't want to be seeing through this barrel. So all you're going to do is you're going to come in, and you're going to select each one of these like so, and we're going to just bring them out a little bit more before finishing. So LL, going all the way around. Make sure this is back on normal, and then S and X or S and Y. Let's see if we can get away with that. Let's have a look. I think, let's have a look. Individual origins, S and X, Yeah, I think actually because I've actually altered them a little bit, or I've got the bevel on or something, it's actually making it a little bit harder for me. So if I just press S, then I should, holding the shift button, just be able to bring them out very, very slightly, just so they're nearly touching each other. And just make sure that I don't actually want to see through that. I'm just going to come here, pressing the S button, like so. And they're not actually moving very well for me at the moment. So let's put it onto global and see if that's any better. Yeah, and there we go. That's probably a bit better. So I'm just going to bring them a little bit closer together, like so. Don't worry too much about the middles anyway, because you're never going to see in there. So just as long as they're actually near enough crossing over. So if I press S again, bring them out just a little bit more. Yeah, and I think that's absolutely fine. All right, so that's it for this one. Let's go up and save out our work like so. And then what we'll do on the next one is we'll get the tops and the bottoms done, and of course the actual drinking part of the actual barrel. All right, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.